Welcome to the R.E.A.L. podcast, where hosts Shane Kilby and Duane Murphy dive deep into the world of real estate agent life. From overcoming hurdles to celebrating success, join us as we explore the journeys of industry veterans and rookies alike. Get ready for bi-weekly episodes packed with advice, feedback, and mentorship from the best in the business.
Welcome to another episode of R.E.A.L. Podcast, Real Estate Agent Life with Shane Kilby and myself, Duane Murphy. And today we've got a special guest with us. We have Miss Kala Laos. And I tell you what, I was reading through this sheet of everything she's accomplished. And I don't think we have enough time in the podcast to intro all of it, but we're going to try. So she's the co-founder and CEO of JK Realty in Arizona, a brokerage known for its innovative culture and rapid growth. And she's also the visionary behind Zudileo, a groundbreaking, we're going to have to get into this, iBuyer platform empowering real estate agents to stay at the center of transactions.
With a career spanning, then I'm sure this number is beyond this now, a career spanning well over 2,000 home sales and a proven track record of navigating market challenges. Kala is known as a trailblazer who combines adaptability, innovation, and a people-first approach. So get ready, sit back for an inspiring conversation with one of the most forward-thinking minds in real estate. Let's take it away. How are you, Kala?
Hi, Shane. Hi, Duane. Thank you so much for having me and for the kind words. Shane, I thought you were going to say how long I've been in real estate because it's a long time and over 2 decades. And, I just got to say that real estate's in my blood. I love it. I got started in real estate when I was 14 because my family lived in a really tiny house. I was sharing a room with my sister. She was 2. My mom was pregnant. And I'm going, this new baby is not coming in the room with me and my other 2-year-old sister. I was 14. And so my parents said, if you want to move, find us a house. So I pulled out the classifieds. I found a VA repo. I called the real estate agent. His name was Todd. He was so freaking cool. He had a Ford Explorer and like a brick cell phone at the time, a long time ago, guys. And my parents, believe it or not, ended up buying that house. And it just sparked in me a passion for real estate that hasn't went away since. And I love it. I love this industry. Furthermore, I think that realtors are some of the kindest, most amazing people you will ever meet. We get a really bad rap out in the world, especially with all of the NAR and the commission and all of that that went down. I think that realtors just really are getting a bad rap. And what I know to be true is that it's a group of really amazing people. I love what I do. And I'm so blessed to be able to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah, everyone's got their own unique story of how they ended up in the business, whether it was, like Duane couldn't work for anyone else, or maybe myself who couldn't work for anyone else and just had to find a different career with a limitless ceiling. Or maybe it's just like you said, maybe it's looking for the bigger house. I think, for myself, it was just the opportunity to, I guess, write your own schedule, right? And create your own income. Whether that be, 6 figures, 7 figures, passive income, whatever it might be. So what, besides at 14, right? And you're like, hey, I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to find us another property. And that's a beautiful story. Like when you become an adult and went full time, like, was it an individual? Was it the income that drew you, or helping others, or, like what gravitated you to the industry then?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. Probably a lot of things. And probably like most of us that get into the business, we have no clue when we get into the business, what the business actually entails. And so I think that I was young, I was naive. I loved the idea of being an entrepreneur, of being able to set my own schedule, being able to have that limitless income. And I watched an infomercial by the name of Carlton Sheet. Of course, this was like decades ago. You guys are laughing. Maybe you've heard.
I still have the DVDs and the CDs.
I have the cassette tapes.
Yes.
No,
I watched. I was so inspired and got into real estate because I thought I was going to get out there and like do creative financing deals that, I learned from Carlton Sheet. That didn't happen. But what did happen is it turned out I was really good at it. And I started out with my husband, Jason. We were a husband and wife team and we just tore it up and, did amazing. So we loved it, worked really hard. But that's kind of what truly inspired me to get into it was Carlton Sheets, because I just thought, wow, I can make a lot of money and I can help people. And this is amazing.
Okay, so I could finally come out of my shell with that now because those are still in my closet. I'm going to bring those out of an episode because I still have them, and I've never made that announcement out to the public because I thought I was the only one that bought into that. I just wasn't a scam, It just
There's a bunch of us that didn't sleep at 3 a.m. that were like, whoa, like that could be me.
Yes.
Take my money.
It's
Yes.
like who is the modern day version of Carlton Sheets? Like maybe like Pace Morby. I don't know who it would be,
Yeah.
but there, Jameel maybe. Like there's several modern day versions of that. But I think that the takeaway is it's the inspiration. It's somebody else showing you a path that they went down. So happened to be in real estate, and they really created a meaningful life out of it. And were able to, make a lot of money as well. And you just go, I can do it too. And I think that's one of the things that I love about real estate is you do get to inspire others along the way to join you on a journey of real estate. And I know what you and you, Shane, and you, Duane, are doing and the agents that you're impacting. And I think that it's the same thing. It's like they probably look to you and think, okay, if Duane can do it, I can do it. And you probably inspire a lot of confidence in others by what you do. And so I always love that part of it.
Yeah. You had mentioned you had started real estate same time Jason did.
Yes.
So you and Jason got were you both married? Well, I mean, were you married at the time when you started?
Yeah. Yep. So Jason's my husband. And yes, we got licensed on the same day. I mean, we both started together.
100% commission. We're going to go take on the world. We're both going to eat, ramen noodles and drink broth, beef broth water for the next year. Let's go do real estate.
Of course. Yeah. And, put it all on the credit cards. And it was a very scary 6 months-ish. At one point in our journey, we didn't think we were going to make it. We both had went and applied for jobs. Neither of us got the jobs. So it was, kind of a twist of fate. But it's definitely going out on a limb. I will say that, and this might be a hot take, but my hot take is if you're going to do real estate, like go all in, go full time. I just have a very little tolerance in my life for people that dip their toe in things. And so one of the things that I feel served us is we did go all in. I mean, we jumped all in. And we weren't trying to, do all of these other things while we were doing real estate. We were just focused on doing real estate, doing it well, prospecting, marketing, all the things, being very consistent. And then there was a point in time, it was about 6 months in, where we're going like, okay, we're out of money. It's not hitting yet. What's going to happen? And then bam, it's like it hit. And ever since that moment, we've never looked back.
Yeah. And that's a great point because, reflecting back on last year, and I know Shane probably has similar stories, but I look at my most successful new to the industry real estate agents that are part of our family. They're the full-time ones, right? They're the ones that jumped all the way in and they've had thin moments, they had whatever, and the light, right? The timeline was different for each of them on, one hit success right away, one hit success a little later, and one came even later than that. But when you compare their success to the ones that are dipping their toe in it or I'll go full time down the road, it's a night and day difference just because of, right? They immerse themselves in there and going, okay, I'm going to make this work. I have no other choice. And that back against the wall mentality.
Yeah, when we've seen the variables like we've seen the last few years, we're typically 60 agents, at any net agents at any time. And, all three of us, we love our people. I know we do. That's why we're on this call. And I felt like, all right, let's be proactive. Let's start educating them. Let's make sure it's front center. Let's make sure that they're aware of what's coming, no matter what they're seeing in social media, where they're getting the information, or if they're getting information at all. Let's make sure that they're not caught off guard. And what was interesting to me is to really, when the water went out, how many were standing there in shallow water, not prepared. And so my thought process was just keep them at the forefront of the thought process and what's taking place ahead of the storm. Let them prepare and dig in. It's going to be fine. You may have to prospect a little harder, work a little harder to keep that level of income, right? Or be prepared to take a dip, right? Well, little did I know, I had more toe dippers than what I realized. So, so I felt good about informing my people, but I realized real quick, like, I should have went harder in the agent attraction and focus a little sooner, but you live and you learn. You live and you learn. Let me ask you this though. When you guys came into the business, and that's awesome too. My wife and I are both in the business. She's in the lending side of things because I didn't want us to both be in the same aspect as real estate, the buying and selling side of things. But let me ask you, so what did you guys do? Did you quit your jobs and go all in, or did you have a part-time job or a second income or something?
Great question, Shane. And by the way, I just adore your wife, Dee Dee, right? She's
Oh yeah.
such a beautiful soul. So we had no other jobs. So Jason was just coming out of the military. We were living overseas. I had been managing a Hertz car rental at the Flughafen. And so we were coming back to the States with absolutely no jobs. So yeah, when I say credit cards got high and it got really scary, I mean it. But we, had a moment where we were like, oh my God, we got to go get jobs. And we went and applied for jobs and, couldn't get them. But I will say though, and Duane just mentioned this, like when your back is up against the wall and the only option is this is going to work, like failure is not an option. It is incredible what the human spirit is willing to do and endure, right? Like, it is incredible what we're willing to do when the only option is this is going to work. Like I have to find sellers and buyers. Like that is the name of the game. Like I don't care how you do it, but if you don't go find sellers and buyers, you will have no business. And so that was just our objective. And I can remember we were doing so much. We were geographically farming. We had this expired system that was absolutely killer. And we were doing all these things, and it just took time for them to take effect. And I can remember doing these things and at one point feeling so discouraged because nothing was working, right? At least that's what I was thinking. It's not working. It just hadn't happened yet. And when I say that there's a moment in time where everything shifts, I mean it. And so if you're doing all the things right now and you're being very intentional and purposeful and you're having meaningful conversations with people who may or may not buy a home from you, you're doing the right thing. Like keep going. I think that what happens is, and you've all seen that picture of the miner who's mining and he gives up and you can see the diamonds were just like, 2 millimeters away. I think what happens is, and probably one of the reasons why we have such a high failure rate in real estate is I think that we get discouraged and we stop, or we're doing something and we get discouraged and we stop doing that thing and we start doing something else. And so we never get to the diamonds because we don't go quite the distance. So I see that play out. And I'm sure I'm totally preaching to the choir. I know you guys see that play out as well. But no, we didn't have jobs to answer your question. It was, real estate, sink or swim. We turned out to be like Olympic swimmers. We're pretty fantastic at this.
Yeah, you never realize how good you can swim till you have to swim.
You started as a husband-wife team.
Yes.
And then what was the because now, right, you have so many things going, right? And you have the brokerage. And so what was the progression from there? So husband-wife team, and then did you start adding agents, or did you join some other teams? What was kind of your progression to get to where you are now, right? I mean, there's probably further to go, but I mean, you're at a pretty good pinnacle. What was the progression to that?
Yeah, so we started selling real estate together and just absolutely loved it. We really love working together and really enjoy being together. So it was just such a great fit for us. Had a ton of success, opened our own brokerage, and then the market crashed. And if you sold in 2005, 6, 7, you know what that felt like. It was insane. So we quickly pivoted. We realized that if we're going to last in this industry, we have to adapt. And I think that's the name of the game. And if there's one common theme that I could point to for our success just over and over again, it's adapt or die. And if you don't adapt, you will die. I mean, can you imagine, the realtors that were out there going like, this social media thing, it's not for me. Like, I'm not going to do social media.
They still do it. They still play it.
Crazy, right? Like crazy town. So we adapted and we started doing short sales, and then we started soliciting contracts for bank-owned properties and ended up being very successful in that arena. Did that for several years. And then it was, okay, we have all of this knowledge. We really want to help inspire other people who, like us, maybe didn't grow up with the mindset that they could accomplish cool things, that they could become millionaires, that they could build property portfolios. And so what we started doing was really recruiting. And I know that we don't use that word anymore. We use the word attract, right? We started attracting agents. And this was back before this was way before like EXP and all of the, those brokerages were a thing. And we had a ton of success, really attracting agents, training agents, helping them build their business. It was always about building a business and a life that you love, because I think that life is too short to hate what you do. And selling real estate is a privilege. And if you don't think so, you shouldn't be doing it. And so it really started helping other agents build their businesses, that sort of thing. And then we adapted again because we just started to see a shift in the marketplace, and we saw an opportunity to serve agents in a different capacity. And so that's why we created Zudileo, to really help agents stay relevant and compete with big technology companies, like, let's be real, that are just looking to replace us realtors. And so that is kind of the progression of how we started versus where we're at today.
Dude, that's amazing. It's funny. So you know Steve Mernon real well. We were on a call with him earlier today, and it's funny. We've all been down the same pathway, cutting our teeth to success. And when you start peeling back, the layers of Steve Mernon and his 44 years through the real estate industry and real estate technology, we got back to the basics of Steve Mernon, and they were philosophically the same pathway that we've all been. The difference is there wasn't all of the lead systems and sources, which there wasn't all the lead systems and sources for the three of us when we started. And I think sometimes that is a detriment to our industry, and it increases the likeliness of our failure rate for agents, because they focus on getting a license, and then they don't focus on the developmental aspect of learning to convert. And it's like, oh, I'm not going to call internet leads. I'm going to get Zillow leads or Realtor.com leads. And those are both great companies, but they're both internet leads. It just, at the end of the day, it's about that conversions. It's like we talked about the simplicity. What was it? We were talking about the two technologies that his team offered, was a fax machine. What was the other one? What was the other one? It was two basic pieces of tech, which at that time were, groundbreaking. Part of it was a referral system, part of a nationwide referral system.
And then coming in through fax.
Yeah, when the fax machine lit up, that was money coming off of it in referral. And another piece of technology, then we look today, is like, you're going to fail if you don't have the newest and greatest piece of tech stack. So it's interesting. The distractions have completely increased, right? The challenges for agents are still the same, but no matter what we do, it all comes down and back to the fundamental basics, right? It's those relationships, just like the three of us. Like we met, I think we all met through Sync. As a matter of fact, I do think that's a piece.
I think so too.
So that's interesting how we're all woven together like that. And I don't think that's ever going to change. And, you look at the technology today, and it allows us to, I tell you what it does, it allows information to move much faster than a lot of times that we can accommodate it, right? So, but it is interesting. So let me ask you this, though. You guys have had some, just like Duane said, pinnacle milestones of success. Like, I still watch some of your culture videos. I'm like, man, if I ever moved to Arizona, I'm going to hang my license up, and I'm just going to go hang out with them, because they seem to have a great time, and it doesn't look to have any stress involved in it, which I know that there is. But you guys have killer culture, and it looks like from the outside that you guys have done everything perfectly. And I know that you guys have we've all made mistakes. What do you think your biggest success in business has been, and what's been your biggest hurdle in business?
Oh my goodness. To narrow it down to just one success, I think would be really difficult to do. we've had a lot of successes. Some of them are just micro successes. And I heard a definition of success the other day that I loved. And it was essentially anything that happens to you, good, bad, especially bad, negative, unpleasant. If you take that moment and you use that moment and you turn it into something that will fuel you to be better, get better, do better, then that's a success. And I really loved that definition because I that just plays out over and over and over again. And as you both know, the more success that you have, the more bullshit you will also have. And so I eat shit sandwiches all day long. And so it's constantly trying to reframe the shit sandwich. So, success doesn't always from the outside. Yes. Have we been able to, amass financial wealth? Absolutely. Right. Like things that people would point to and say, like, oh my God, they're so successful. But I don't think what people realize is there's a trade-off. And especially, I think that, it's a misconception in real estate that you're just like really good at all this stuff and it just comes so natural for you and you don't have any problems. And it's like, oh, wow, if people could really see, like, you wouldn't last an hour doing what I do, right? Like if people really understood the amount of, BS that we deal with. So I think reframing all of that to do better, be better, get better is truly a success. But I will say that, the second part of your question, like hurdles, and I think, and a coach had once shared with me that, especially when managing people, I think that a hurdle is oftentimes you get into leadership positions and maybe you're not ready or equipped to be in that leadership position. So it's like on the job training. And, thankfully now we have ChatGPT to throw the things into and be like, okay, here's the scenario. What do you think I should do? And, you get some really great advice. But it wasn't always that way. And I think that, really leadership skills were hurdles that had to be learned and a lot of tough lessons. And one thing that a coach had shared with me that, if there's ever drama or something, run towards it, run towards the drama and resolve it and solve it. Don't leave it hanging and just deal with it. And so I think those were some hurdles as I look back and think on it.
Yeah, and you were talking about the levels of success, and as you get more successful, right? I think you said, quote unquote, the shit sandwiches, right, get larger, or taste different, or whatever it might be. But right, Shane always says, right, it's every level has its new devil, right? And you're always, every time you're going up, no matter what it may be, right, all of a sudden you're going to have to. The higher you get up, or the more successful you become, it doesn't become easier. Right, you face bigger challenges, bigger devils, so to speak, and right, you just become, I think, more adept at proving that you can overcome them, and and that definitely changes that success. But you had mentioned earlier with empowering agents and helping agents and doing all that. I mean, you deal with something in your market, or had dealt with some major disruption in your market that Shane and I are somewhat blessed to not feel a lot of, right? I don't have iBuyers in my market. I walk around and would say, hey, like, did you run that through, or did you do iBuyer? Or I could walk her through my brokerage right now and mention the word iBuyer, and they'd be like, what, like what, like they're buying people's eyes? Like they would be clueless. Because we don't have iBuyers in our market, right? So, but obviously in your market where you're at and Arizona, right? They came in with a force of disruption, of which then brought about Zudileo, right? To kind of give an agent a fighting chance with all that. Did I summarize that up correctly? I think I know a little bit more about Zudileo than maybe the average agent, but like that was a major disruption, and here you are, like, going, great, you're going to disrupt the market, awesome, I want to be a disruptor too, I'm going to come up with something to combat it.
Yeah, absolutely. The iBuyer conversation is very prevalent when going on listing appointments. And in 2015, Opendoor started in the Phoenix market. And what started happening is we'd show up to a listing appointment. It took a couple years for them to get a little bit of penetration, but we'd show up to the listing appointment, and then the seller would tell us, well, look at this cash offer I just got from Opendoor. What do you think about it? And initially you were just so caught off guard. You're like, wait, what? Like, who is this company? Like, oh, what? You an address in and you get an offer. Like, it was unheard of. And they started getting traction. And what we realized is that sellers were willing to sell to them at a discount just to avoid listing their home on the open market. It was insane in our minds at the time. A massive paradigm shift I underwent. And then OfferPad started here. And then back when Zillow Offers did their little stint, they started here. And so at a time, we had Zillow, Open Door, and OfferPad, and they were all giving cash offers. So we started Zudileo so that a homeowner could get a cash offer and get all of their offers and options in one place. Because what we realized is the Open Door offer sometimes was better than the OfferPad offer, and the OfferPad was sometimes better than the Zillow Offers offer. And so if you were a homeowner and you were considering getting a cash offer on your home, it made sense to see all of the offers in one place. What we also learned is that they wanted an agent on their side. They didn't want to go it alone. And so by being the agent that brought them those offers and options, you could be the one that could navigate and help them through it. Or what typically happens is you end up listing their home on the open market. And some really stunning statistics on iBuyers, Duane. So Carrie Wheeler, she's the CEO of Open Door. In one of their last shareholder reports, she said that in all of their iBuyer markets, 50% of every home that hits the MLS has first received a cash offer from Open Door. So homeowners are heavily looking at these companies and getting offers from these companies. And so if you're in an iBuyer market, and if you're not, even better, because you can use these same tactics to get more listings. But if you're in an iBuyer market, you learned real quick that you had to have a solution to the iBuyer cash offer.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And in a lot of aspects, though, you guys flip some property, right? Or do you?
So Zudileo is not a buyer in the platform. So Zudileo is just mainly the technology that facilitates the sourcing of the different cash offers for the homeowners. So we're sourcing cash offers in 48 states, which is pretty darn exciting. We recently added Hawaii. The only two states that we're not sourcing cash offers in are Alaska and Rhode Island. So we're sourcing cash offers for realtors all across the country. Our member base continues to grow. We're just over the 10,000 member threshold. So that's been a really exciting milestone.
Congrats.
And not the product plug, but we have a really cool home report that has just been gaining a ton of traction, and agents are loving it as like a conversion tool for homeowners.
Very cool. So agents are, it is a way for agents to put themselves in the transaction instead of competing with the transaction.
Absolutely. Exactly. It's just, I think that goes back to the adaptability and looking at, the lay of the land and really asking yourself, what are the different challenges of today's consumer and how has that changed? I mean, ultimately, what we all know is this is a contact sport, and it's, a human relationship business. As you had mentioned earlier, Shane, it's like mano y mano, right? Like, we are humans dealing with each other, and we know that. But what we also know is that sellers they're acting differently than they've acted in the past. And so a lot of them are using digital options to find different solutions. And I think that if, you're in an iBuyer market and your seller, or let's just say your client that you sold a house to a few years ago, just gets curious and pops onto Open Door's site and gets that Open Door cash offer. Well, now guess what? Every week they're going to get an email from Open Door telling them what their updated, fresh, new cash offer is. And you better believe it, they're going to click that email. And so I think that agents have a new set of challenges. And so what is your compelling value proposition that you're going to deliver to that homeowner to get them to open your emails? Because it's not going to be a new recipe. And I think we all know that. But yet a lot of the tools that we use are still delivering up that 5-cheese lasagna recipe. And so I think that agents really have to ask themselves, what item of value am I committed to delivering on a consistent basis that is actually going to satiate today's consumer? Because we all know we live in an Amazon Now society, and we want everything now. And so when a seller is thinking about selling their house, that easy option is it's irresistible, and they want to know what it is. The good news is like I mentioned, the acceptance rate on those cash offers is very, very low. Most of the time, what that homeowner will do when they're selling is use an agent to bring their home to the open market.
Yeah, it seems to me like a no brainer because it puts the agent in the do gooder role. I'm gonna facilitate all these for you, and you go with the one that makes the most sense for you in your situations. Now that's awesome. That is awesome. I thought that's how that program was set up. Let me ask you this: on that same topic, do you feel like the iBuyers of the world have contributed their portion to affordability for the consumer today?
I'm curious. Do I think that they've made housing more expensive?
Yeah, so I mean, you see a lot of headlines, and every market's hyper local, and it takes a lot of transactions to affect negatively or positively, and this is just reading articles and digesting Inman and what have you to say that, for instance, Zillow was supposedly, I'm not in their financial records, was way in the red, paying way absorbent fees for property, way above list price. And so, was there enough of that traction with those companies to have made a negative impact?
Yeah, that's those are the sorts of questions that I literally obsess over. And I would say that there are micro markets where absolutely, because what drove the iBuyers to purchase so aggressively? A lot of people think that it was just like competition between the three. And, Rich Barton wanted to take out, like at the time, Eric Wu and Brian Baer, and they thought it was like really personal. It wasn't. It was all monetary driven. It was money. It was these funds and these REITs. And this was back when interest rates, like, remember when a mortgage interest rate was 2.75? And so they had all this capital that they needed to deploy. Buying real estate was a mechanism to deploy it. And so what happened is these companies like Invitation Homes and Progress Residential and Tricon, they started creating buy boxes. And they would say, okay, if your home is in this buy box, if it's a 3-2 with no pool, 1995 or newer in, Chandler, Arizona, then we're going to overpay for that home, because what we know is we're going to be able to get premium rents. We know that we're going to be able to deploy our capital at a really inexpensive rate, and our cap rate is going to be fantastic. And so we're going to build a portfolio of homes that have these awesome cap rates. And, that's what started happening. And so there are absolutely micro markets where these buyers, and oftentimes through Zillow offers, through Open Door, through OfferPad, acquired a lot of homes. So yeah, I do. Somewhat, not a whole lot. It's pretty negligible because in totality, all of these companies, they own like less than 3% of the housing stock. And when you look at who the largest share of ownership goes to when it comes to single family rentals, it's the mom and pop landlords that own most of it. And so I think that like Wall Street is often blamed as being like this boogeyman that's just gobbling up everything. And that's just simply not the case. And when you really look at the numbers, it's revealing, but it's just a sexy headline to say like Wall Street's buying up all the houses and you're screwed and you're never going to be able to buy anything. And like people love that. It's clickbait. It's irresistible, but it's just not the truth.
Yeah. What kicked all that off way back when was Warren.
Bring that microphone closer, Duane.
Can you hear me now?
I can.
Sweet, there you go. Sexy. There you go. Yeah, I was gonna say what kicked off a lot of that before the iBuyers, before BlackRock and everybody, all the hedge funds, everybody started getting involved in buying houses en masse. Right, was an interview with Warren Buffett when the reporter asked him, right, and this was after the crash, the reset, on what advice would he give the average American household, and what investing advice, what would he tell them to build wealth? And after the crash, and he lost, a lot of people lost a lot of stuff, right? Lost everything. And he told the reporter, he goes, I would tell every American household out there right now to go buy every single family home you can. And the reporter was like shocked by that, right? Like he didn't say go buy Heinz ketchup stock, right? Or go buy Chevy, or go buy, GM's, right? General Electric, or all the other big companies that I always promotes, right? And the reporter asked him, he's like, what? Like, go buy, he's like, yes, go buy every single family home you can. I'm trying to remember the date. I think it was around 2012, right? So after
Yeah.
after the crash has started to
I
come back
remember
up.
that.
And the reporter then went one question deeper, which he doesn't give enough props for that, right? No reporter love here, but right, he went one question deeper off that. He said, "Well, if that's the advice you're giving the average family household, why aren't you doing it?" And he's like, I haven't been able to figure out how to buy 10,000 at a time." Right. And obviously there's some companies that have figured that out since, but it, it still holds true. And like you said, that the number of families, the number of individuals that own multiple homes, right, and using them as an investment property or as a short-term Airbnb effect is much, much larger than that institutional pressure that gets the press.
So let me ask you this.
Thing.
Success, trials, tribulations, the pinnacles of everything you guys have succeeded in. We've all got those influences in life and business, or sometimes it's maybe it's a book or a motivational, speaker, inspirational individual. Who's the greatest influence in Kayla's life and business up to this point?
Oh my goodness. You are asking some really tough questions, Shane. The greatest. It's like one thing. Oh my goodness.
It could be, it doesn't have to be one, but if you narrow it down to one.
Okay. I will share this, that when I started my real estate journey, I ended up with a phenomenal broker, and who you do business with matters. And I will say that this woman was absolutely incredible. She didn't know so much about selling real estate, which in hindsight was really funny. I mean, she did. She was a great broker. But what she was really good at was just tapping into that human potential and inspiring action. And as I look back, and I get a little sad because she passed away over the summer, really unexpectedly, but just a phenomenal woman, and really inspired and motivated me and just gave me belief in myself. I think because she believed in me, then I believed in me, and I would not be who I am today without Kathy Green. So she was just a phenomenal human. Yeah, that's definitely, as I look at specifically my real estate journey, if I hadn't landed with her, I don't know that I would be where I'm at today.
Props to her, and thanks for sharing that, because, it's funny you said, the real estate side of her may not have been her strength, but bringing the best out of individuals was a strength that she had. And when you said that out, it immediately resonated with me, because as leaders, as we all are, and we strive to improve daily. Having that right chemistry to inspire others is tougher than you would think. And I know we have all three, we wake up, I get it. We wake up some days like, oh my goodness, today's a bad day, right? And we're like, okay, I don't have time for that, so let's make it a good day. All right, it's going to be a good day. But by the time we get to the starting block each day, we're ready to take our people and help them accomplish every goal that they've ever set out for themselves, and even goals that they haven't seen yet. But that combination, the chemistry to unlock everyone's potential around you, is one that is very, very tough. That's a tough recipe to crack. I don't know that one person can make that connection for everyone. For instance, like I always, I grew up in a household that didn't have a lot, money wasn't plentiful. Like going out to nice restaurants was like special occasions. And so I, inadvertently, I was money driven for quite a bit of my younger days, because I didn't really know how to put purpose and why and intention together. Once I realized that it wasn't the money, it was the freedom that I was pursuing, it changed my outlook on everything. And then I thought, well, I can inspire everybody around me to seek freedom. And boy, that's been a journey over the past 20 something years. It's never the same. I don't think two people are wired like that. That's very impressive that she made that impact on you. Very impressive. Props to her. Props
Yeah,
to
it was. Props to you guys because, you know, the reality is like what we do as leaders in real estate, especially when leading other realtors, uh, you know, profit margins are like razor thin. Like agents think we're just like crushing it off of them, right? Like they
You're a
think we make
broker.
so
You're
much money.
loaded.
Yes,
I'm like,
exactly.
no, I'm a broker. That means I'm broker than you.
Yes, that's a good one. Yes, it's like, you know, we're just crushing it and all of this. And I just think that there's true beauty in the individual that helps others and champions their dreams. So, and I know that that's what you guys are doing like day in, day out. I see the dedication that you have to your agents and to growth and helping them have success. And I think that's like really undervalued in today's real estate world. In fact, and I would say like, this is probably another hot take. I would say that the proliferation of, you know, the models right now has led to a lot of wannabes and a lot of experts that, you know, think that they can show you the way and all of this. And sadly, I think that a lot of realtors probably get led astray by someone who's charismatic and maybe good on camera. But when it comes down to it, they don't have, you know, that special something that can truly help you break through and accomplish what it is that you want. So, and I see that in you both. I know that you do an amazing job of growing and mentoring your agents. So I would be remiss if I didn't just say thank you for that, because it's a sacrifice and you're sacrificing to help others achieve their dreams. And then oftentimes I know what happens is, you know, oftentimes that agent's like, oh, well, now I know more. I'm better. I got this. And then the weather out, right? And you're just like, okay, like after you've literally invested your blood, sweat, tears into them and their business. But
you know, and it's and I know we all try not to, and we've all been at some point in time. We get better at it over time. You know, we get emotionally attached to the relationship part of it, like, and they bounce, and every time before it happens, we're like, not going to be emotionally connected to an agent anymore. Like you have to do what's best for you, and I understand, and no hard feelings. Let's go grab lunch next week. And they go, okay, let's go grab lunch next week. I'm headed out the door, and then you're like, I can't believe, you know, and it catches us all. You know, it's not as bad as it once was, you know, but I have learned over the years, like, you know, if it's meant to be, like, they'll stay. Like, if not, don't just let them go. I mean, sincerely help them transition, celebrate their transition is weird and unorthodox as that sounds. Dwayne and I were kind of sharing this similar conversation earlier. It's like no one outside the real estate industry knows, no one outside the real estate industry cares. And it's not like a headhunter come and found this agent and gave them this great guaranteed contract with all these incentives. It's like, it's a lateral move, right? I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some bad chemistry and situation where agents need to be in a different playground, right? With different support staff and training and mentorship and stuff like that. But oftentimes it's transitioning from one camp to another, right? And nobody really cares. Give it 24 hours, 48 hours. And by assisting them, it seems to always come back full circle, right? We know the industry average is, 30% attrition, which is, scary. I don't think we've ever been anywhere close to that. And then what's the life expectancy in a broker's 3.5 years? Like it's out there in the public. It is a statistic. Like, we're always looking to exceed those, statistics. We want to not allow 87% churn from license to exiting the business in 36 months or less. We want to beat that. And we do have probably a 7-year average, I would imagine, 5 to 7 year average, somewhere around there. And probably, 10 to 20%, probably more like a 15%. And that's built in with all of the, ones that didn't really plan to stay in this business and be successful in it. So, it's good insight. We've all been there. We struggle with it. Dwayne, you've never struggled with anything like that. Like everybody.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm blessed that I don't deal with a ton of turnover, but to say that we don't have it or didn't have it, or haven't felt it, we do. And you do get emotionally tied, right? It's, I almost compare it to, the feeling that parents get, right, when the kids go off to college and the house, right, all of a sudden you're an empty nester and it's like, wait, like they don't need me anymore. right? Right. And, or like, okay, like they can do it themselves now. Right. And something of that nature. Right. And, it's up to us. Right. And this is probably me after lots of therapy. Right. But it's up to us not to take it personal. Right. And if we can, I've had agents leave and they've opened up their own brokerages and, or they started their own teams or they did some of that. Now, I think they could have did some of that underneath our umbrella, right? I would have loved to have given that opportunity. But at the same time, right, I have to also sit back and go, okay, like, right, I did my job, right, stewarding them, helping them, teaching them, giving them the knowledge, giving them the opportunity, the platform, whatever it may be, right? And now they're taking that and going and fulfilling their next dream. And it's like, right, who am I, right? Essentially, who am I to tell them that, no, you shouldn't do that, or you can't do that. I did that. We all did that, right, at one point. And it's like, all right, like, okay, they're to that point. And the only reason why we don't, right, is sometimes our personal pride, right, gets hurt a little bit. Like, why would someone ever leave me? I'm awesome. Right. And it's like, wait, no, they left for more opportunity. They went to go fulfill their dreams. They went to go impact other people. And that's an awesome testament, to anybody that happens to. But speaking of winding back the clock, Kayla, and reflecting back a little bit, and now, you mentioned a few years of experience in the industry. So I think you said you started real estate at like 12. So, right, because you got like 20 years in. So I was doing the math. I'm like, okay, 20 years in. So you started at like 12.
You're very kind.
Yeah, that's impressive is what that is. What's the one thing you could say to your younger self, or maybe someone else on the same journey, that you wish someone would have said to you?
Not that I didn't hear this or that it wasn't said to me, but I think that in general, we think relatively small. And even when we think big, we're thinking small. And so I think a good piece of advice is to think big. Have a vision for your life that scares the shit out of you and that you have no idea how you're going to create it or turn it into a reality. Because I think that the moment we stop dreaming is like a sad moment in a lot of people's lives. And so I think that you got to think really big and believe that you can do it.
Well said. Well said. Yeah, it's funny. As kids, like that's what we were asked. Like, what do you want to be? I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a police officer. I want to be a fireman. I want to do this. I want to be a doctor. I want to do all these things. And then somewhere along the line, it changed. It's like, all right, you need to grow up. You need to pick a path. And then you get to this point where we're all entrepreneurs. It's like, no, you don't need to grow up. You need to continuously learn, grow, and develop. And you need to continuously chase those dreams and let those dreams get bigger and bigger and bigger and pursue them until you capture those dreams. So, and we talk about that with agents all the time. So let me ask you this. So, to kind of pull all this back together and in respect of your time and the listeners' time, if anyone wanted to reach out to you guys and connect, just for referrals or to check out your brokerage or to check out some of the technology services that you guys provide and offer to other agents for solutions like Zudileo, how would they reach out and connect with you?
I say social media. I'm pretty active on Instagram, and it's just my first and my last name is my handle. So hit me up, send me a DM. I do check that box along with all of the other things in that box, but I do check that every so often. So I love getting DMs from agents across the US, and I'll follow you back and support you on your real estate journey as well. So would love to connect.
And she has a killer podcast. You have a killer podcast as well.
I know. I was like, I need to have you guys on it.
Well, anytime.
Well, how's your shot? I mean, this is like, take the shameless plug. What's the podcast name? I shouldn't have it right here, but
so our podcast. Yeah, I'm like, what? I'm like, what are you talking about? I like, don't plug it. No,
I can look at my Spotify. Like, you're trying to think of the name, and I'm like, wait, I can look at my Spotify. I have it like bookmarked.
Our podcast is the Real Estate Rundown, and we talk. We chop up a lot of real estate, crypto.
Well, you're talking, I mean, a lot of times, right? You're talking like big picture. You're talking about what's going on in the real estate world and, and
Yeah, we
like,
probably get a little carried away.
yeah.
Again, it's
In there.
There's a lot of macro talk in there. There's some micro stuff, but there's a
yeah,
lot of macro talk in there.
there is a lot of macro
I
talk
love
in there.
devouring some of that, right? It's just like, ooh,
Yeah.
like
We're always just trying to figure out, like, what the real estate world is doing and all of that. And I'm like, really, like, if you tune into the podcast lately, we're really hot on how cryptocurrency is going to be collateralized to purchase real estate. And so I'm super just really passionate. We were really early adopters in crypto and in Bitcoin. And so obviously, like, that's just been an insane blessing. And what we know is that I think that's a new wave, actually. And it's going to be like a new trend. We're going to start hearing a lot more about that. There are companies that are doing it, not many. And pretty soon you're going to be able to get a mortgage with your Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's coming, right?
It's coming.
And I've had chats with that and just thoughts too. When you talk about crypto and whatnot, I don't think it's talked about enough. I mean, it is, right? But I don't think it's talked about a ton yet in the influence on what it's going to have on real estate, right? And they talk all the time, affordability. The amount of wealth that the younger generation is having because they embrace the technology, they embrace the crypto and those types of things. I ran into 2 past buyers of mine, clients a long time ago, right? And younger, right? 2 to 3 younger children, married, right? I sold them their first house, right? And now, right, both of them are like, hey, like, I'm going to probably be calling you soon, or, calling somebody on your team or in your brokerage in your company, because I think I'm going to have to buy another house. Made all this money in crypto, and I want to be able to take, a lot of the money that I made, and I want to put it in something a little bit more stable and invest some of that money. And I want to buy an investment property, right? I want to buy a rental, and it was multiple ones. And again, it was right on that run up where it's right about that 100,000 peak. And both of them are like, I think I'm going to take some of that money and put it in something a little more stable, right? I'm going to put it into real estate and buy an investment property and then let the rest kind of continue to ride. But I think there's going to be such an impact on that in the future. It's fascinating talk because I don't think anyone really fully appreciates all the impact it's going to have in the future.
Wasn't the first completely crypto transaction in the last couple of years, wasn't it Miami?
Yes, it was. It was Miami. And whoever purchased that house for Bitcoin probably regrets it. And I think that's why we're going to see a whole new world of collateralization against your crypto. Because, a lot of folks that have it want to hold it, but yet they have this wealth. And how do they go buy houses? How do they go buy investment properties? And so I'm just really fascinated with the collateralization of the crypto. And once banks can custody your crypto, we're going to see a whole new world, guys, and a whole new world of loan products. It's going to be really super interesting. And I'm really fascinated. So if you're listening to this and you do any of that, or anyone who has a financial product like that, I would love to talk with them. We're also, part of what we do with Zudileo is we pull in different, essentially financial products. And so I really would love to have a financial product in our platform that speaks to the crypto. We did just do something fun. We did a toggle, like a US dollar Bitcoin toggle, so homeowners can see their home in dollars in crypto, and they can see how it's charted over time. Because, it used to be like, your house value was a ton of Bitcoin, and like now it's like, 4 Bitcoin, right? 5 Bitcoin, right?
And when you think about that, just one little, I know we're trying to wrap, but open up the wormhole, right? You think about crypto, right? So you get your home, right? And over the last few years, right, we had this massive appreciation and you make all this money off your home. And in a traditional real estate sense, right, somebody comes along, right, gives you, let's say, right, in your world, it's a lot more than mine. But let's just say, right, so someone comes along, buys your home for $400,000. They give you $400,000 in cash, US dollars, right? Essentially, that $400,000 they give you for your home it's probably still going to be worth $400,000 a year or two from now, or maybe 390 or 380, depending upon politics and everything else, inflation.
Definitely less. Yeah.
Right. So it's going to be worth less than what you got for it the day you got it. It literally, you start losing money the second you get the money. Flip that in reverse now. You're taking that home that you just made all that appreciation on and sold, and now they paid you in Bitcoin, right? Or in some sort of cryptocurrency that only continues to increase in value. So you are literally, once you sell that property, whether it's an investment property or, your primary residence, whatever, you sell that home, or, right, we're going to talk about homes. We're not going to talk about cars or anything else selling, right? But you sell that property, get paid in a cryptocurrency that you now own and retain, that is only growing in value, versus completely different than what happens now. Once you get your money from the house, that's it. Like, you got your money, you're done. Like, now you got to go find, what am I going to do with it? Where am I going to invest it? Like, because now I got the money, I'm losing it, right? It's literally going down in value the longer I hang on to it. Completely reverse.
It does. It totally reverses the equation. And what I love is the flip side of, okay, well, if I own, let's say I'm not a total Bitcoin maxi, but most Bitcoin. So I've got my Bitcoin and I collateralize it to buy a house. Now I have two appreciating assets, right? Not just one. And so I think that that's like the really fascinating part. And what I love most about these products that we're starting to see come to market that are so super fringe, but and time is a great revealer. So like 3 years from now, we could listen to this podcast and I could have been dead ass wrong. I don't think I am. So it'll be really fun to see that all unravel.
It will be.
Absolutely.
The lending world needs to get on board with, it's like they come in with their portfolios and like, okay, well, here you go. I have $500,000 in crypto, and they definitely do not look at it the same as, I have $500,000.
No.
I have $500,000 sitting.
Yeah.
They put more weight on having $250,000 in your savings account than they do in you having $500,000 worth of crypto.
Right.
Right. But
yep. And I think we're going to see that script flip soon.
I think we definitely will in our lifetime, for sure. It's coming.
A lot of other people feel that way too, from where it's been, a couple of years back to where it has risen to in the last 12, 18 months. Yeah, 12, 18 months. So it has done real well. Well, ladies and gentlemen, to all of you guys and gals out there listening, you need to connect with Kala. Follow her on social. She is an absolute breath of fresh air. She's got a ton of insight. She puts out a lot of great content, so connect with her. And in the meantime, if you found some value or some good insight in this podcast, do us a big favor and like and subscribe and share it with someone else that might see the same value as well. And in the meantime, we will see you guys on another episode real soon. Thanks so much for listening.
Thank you, Kala.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the R.E.A.L. podcast. Don't forget to connect with us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok for more exclusive content. Keep striving for success, and we'll see you in the next episode.